You served your country. You followed the rules. You earned every penny of your VA benefits. But what if I told you that a single overlooked detail, a change in paperwork, a missed update, or even a side job could put all of it at risk without a warning? Every month, veterans across the country suddenly find their disability checks frozen or slashed, not because they did anything wrong, but because of hidden triggers buried deep in VA regulations. And here's the part nobody talks about. These triggers aren't always obvious. Some seem harmless. Others happen because of a mistake someone else made on your file. But the consequences? Immediate. Your benefits vanish, and the fight to get them back can take months. In this video, we're breaking down 7 hidden triggers that can get your VA benefits suspended without notice. These aren't scare tactics, they're real patterns veterans are facing right now. And number 3, that one's caught thousands of people completely off guard, including veterans who thought they were doing everything right. So, if you rely on your VA check or know someone who does, this might be the most important video you watch all year. Let's get into it. 1. Failing to report income changes. Most veterans don't realize how fast a side hustle, part-time job, or even gig income from apps like DoorDash or Uber can raise red flags with the VA. You might think it's just a few $100, or this has nothing to do with my disability. But to the VA, any change in your income, especially if you're receiving needs-based benefits like VA pension or individual unemployability, is a major event. The moment you earn extra money and don't report it, you're at risk of being flagged for an overpayment. And here's the catch. The VA often won't tell you right away. They let the checks keep coming while quietly logging your income in the background. Then months later, you'll get a letter saying you've been overpaid and they want thousands back. That's usually followed by a sudden benefits suspension. One veteran in Arizona said he picked up seasonal work for the holidays. He only worked for 6 weeks, but because he didn't notify the VA in time, they claimed he owed over $3,800 and stopped his checks completely until it was resolved. It took him nearly 9 months to fix. The rule is simple but easy to overlook. Any change in income, even temporary, needs to be reported immediately. If you wait or assume it won't matter, the consequences can hit you hard and fast. And this is just the beginning. Because the next trigger doesn't involve money at all, it involves your medical records. And the people making changes might not even be you. 2. Unauthorized medical record updates. You might assume your VA benefits are tied only to what you submitted during your claim, your service records, your original diagnosis, and the doctor's notes you trusted. But here's what most veterans don't know. Your disability rating can be affected by what's added to your file after the fact, and not always by you. Here's how it happens. Let's say you visit a new doctor, maybe even outside the VA, and they enter a comment in your medical records that downplays your condition. Maybe they note improved range of motion, symptoms resolved, or even worse, suggest you're exaggerating. That gets uploaded or shared with VA databases, sometimes through medical information exchanges or insurance systems. The VA reviews these files periodically, and without warning, they can initiate a proposal to reduce or suspend your benefits, even if the doctor never fully understood your case. One veteran in Texas had PTSD and a 70% rating. After switching providers for unrelated reasons, his new doctor wrote a note saying, "Appears emotionally stable." That single sentence triggered a reevaluation, which led to his checks being reduced. No warning, no phone call, just a notice in the mail. It's not just unfair, it's often completely out of your control. And if you don't spot those changes quickly, they can cost you everything. The key? Regularly request copies of your medical records. Ask to see your C-file every year. Make sure every note reflects the reality of your condition. Because the next time someone clicks save in a file, it could be the start of a chain reaction that ends with your benefits disappearing. And that's nothing compared to what happens when you move and forget to update your address. That tiny oversight, it's cost veterans everything. 3. Missed mail or unreported address changes. It sounds almost too simple to be true, but One of the fastest ways to lose your VA benefits is by not updating your mailing address. That's it. You move, forget to notify the VA, and suddenly critical letters go to your old home. You miss deadlines. You miss appointments. And before you even realize what's happening, your checks stop arriving and your file is flagged for noncompliance. Here's how it happens. The VA sends you a notice. Maybe it's about a reevaluation, a routine check-in, or even a time-sensitive form you need to return. If it comes back undeliverable or you just don't respond in time, the VA assumes you're no longer engaging in process. And when that happens, they have the authority to suspend or terminate your payments until they hear from you again. This isn't rare. Thousands of veterans have been cut off not because they did anything wrong, but because they moved apartments, didn't get their mail forwarded, or assumed a minor change wouldn't matter. One veteran in Florida went 3 months without benefits because the VA sent a re-exam notice to an old address. He missed the 60-day response window. His checks were halted until he appealed, which took another 6 months to resolve. And let's be clear, this doesn't just apply to your physical address. If your email or phone number changes and you don't update eBenefits or va.gov, you risk missing digital notifications too. The VA relies on the last known contact information. If they can't reach you, they can pause everything. So, if you've moved recently, even if it's just across town, log in and check that your details are current. Because the price of forgetting, it could mean months without the support you've earned and a bureaucratic nightmare trying to get it back. 4. Unreported income or side work. Most veterans don't realize it, but earning extra money, even something as small as a few $100s a month, can trigger a suspension of VA benefits if it goes unreported. And it's not because the VA is out to get you. It's because certain benefits, especially needs-based ones like VA pension or aid in attendance, have strict income thresholds. Go even slightly over those limits without reporting, and your payments can be reduced or halted altogether. Picture this. A disabled veteran picks up a few shifts driving for a rideshare app. It helps cover groceries, nothing major. But when tax season hits, the IRS flags the additional income. That data syncs with the VA's systems, and suddenly the veteran receives a notice. His benefits are being reviewed, and payments are paused until he can prove eligibility again. What felt like harmless side work ends up creating months of stress, paperwork, and delayed support. Even more confusing is how income is defined. It's not just wages. It can include rental property, dividends, gambling winnings, or even help from family, like if your adult child pays your rent directly. If the VA finds out and it wasn't reported, they might accuse you of withholding information. And once that trust is broken, getting reinstated becomes much harder. Now, this doesn't mean you can't earn money, but if you're receiving income-sensitive benefits, you must report any changes, even if it seems small. Being proactive is what protects you. And if you're thinking, I've never heard of someone being penalized for something that minor, just wait until you hear what happens if you miss a scheduled VA re-exam. It's far more serious than most veterans realize, and that's what we'll explore next. 5. Missing a scheduled VA re-examination. You might think skipping a medical appointment is no big deal, just something you can reschedule later. But when it comes to a VA re-examination, missing it could cost you your benefits entirely. And here's where most veterans get caught off guard. The VA uses these re-exams to confirm that your condition still meets the criteria for compensation. If you miss one without a valid excuse, they can interpret that as noncompliance, and they're legally allowed to reduce or terminate your benefits as a result. Let's say you were rated for PTSD or a back injury 5 years ago. The VA flags your case for a routine re-exam, which is supposed to check if your symptoms have improved. You get a notice in the mail, but maybe you've moved or it gets buried under other paperwork. You miss the appointment. At first, nothing happens. But then the letter comes. Your payments have been halted pending review. Now you're stuck in a bureaucratic nightmare, having to prove that the missed exam wasn't intentional, all while trying to get rescheduled and restore your benefits. This happens more often than people think, especially to older veterans, homeless veterans, or those with cognitive issues. And the worst part? The VA doesn't always follow up with a phone call or second notice. One missed appointment, and the consequences can be long-lasting. There is a way to protect yourself. Keep your contact information up to date with the VA, and if you ever get a letter about a compensation and pension C&P re-exam, prioritize it. If you truly can't attend, call the number on the notice and reschedule. Never assume it won't matter, because unlike a doctor's visit you can just brush off, this one has the power to completely erase your financial support. And if you think that sounds harsh, the next trigger is even more frustrating because it punishes veterans for trying to do the right thing. 6. Reporting income incorrectly on VA means tested programs. It's a scenario that catches countless veterans off guard. You file a simple tax return, pick up a part-time job, or get a small inheritance, and suddenly the VA says you've misreported your income. Within weeks, your pension is reduced, suspended, or even flagged for overpayment recovery. Why? Because certain VA benefits, like the VA pension and needs-based aid programs, are heavily income-dependent, and even small financial changes can trigger big consequences. Here's where it gets messy. The VA doesn't just rely on your honesty, it cross-checks your reported income with IRS and Social Security data. So, if there's a mismatch, even if it's just a clerical error, they can launch an investigation and retroactively adjust your payments. You might not even know something went wrong until you get a demand letter saying you were overpaid by thousands of dollars and now owe it back. And it's not just about wages. Veterans have lost benefits over things as simple as selling a car, cashing out a life insurance policy, or receiving help from family members. That birthday check from your daughter? If you deposit it and don't report it properly, it might look like income. The rules are incredibly specific, and most vets are never clearly told what counts and what doesn't. Even worse, once flagged, the burden falls entirely on you to fix it. That means gathering bank statements, letters of explanation, proof of medical expenses, and navigating VA forms that feel like they were designed to confuse you. Some veterans end up with reduced pensions for months, or get kicked out of eligibility completely just because they didn't understand the reporting rules. To protect yourself, keep detailed financial records and report changes as soon as they happen. If you're unsure whether something counts as income, contact a VA-accredited representative before making any assumptions, because what feels like harmless extra cash to you might look like fraud to the VA's computer system, and once that red flag is raised, getting your benefits back won't be easy. 7. Getting flagged for medical improvement without warning. You might think once the VA grants you a disability rating, it's permanent. But that's not always true. One of the lesser-known ways veterans lose their benefits is through a process called a rating reduction review, especially if the VA believes your condition has improved. And here's the kicker: you don't always see it coming. The VA periodically reviews certain disability ratings, especially if your condition wasn't classified as permanent or stabilized at the time of the original decision. These reevaluations are often triggered without any request from you. It could be based on a note in your medical file, a missed appointment, or even something as subtle as a primary care doctor writing that your condition is better managed. Once flagged, the VA can schedule a compensation and pension (C&P) exam to reassess your condition. If you miss that exam, even by accident, they may reduce or terminate your benefits automatically. And if you do attend but the examiner sees signs of improvement, your rating could drop, cutting your monthly payment or wiping it out entirely. What many veterans don't realize is that the definition of improvement isn't always medical. Sometimes it's functional. If you tell the examiner you've been working a little more, exercising again, or simply having better days, that can be used as evidence that your disability no longer warrants the same compensation. Even if you're still struggling, the danger here is how quietly this process can happen. You may receive a letter about a proposed rating change and have just 30 to 60 days to respond. If you miss that window or don't provide strong medical evidence to challenge the change, the lower rating becomes permanent. Suddenly, your income drops, and appealing that decision can take years. If your rating isn't marked as permanent and total PNT, be proactive. Keep up with appointments. Document your symptoms consistently, and don't downplay your limitations, even if you're having a good week. Because one vague medical note or missed deadline can unravel years of benefits, and most veterans don't find out until it's too late. Most veterans don't realize just how fragile their benefits can be until something unexpected knocks everything off course. We often assume once the VA grants you a rating, it's yours for life. But as you've seen, that's not always the case. A missed exam, an unnoticed income shift, a well-meaning comment in a doctor's note, any one of these can quietly unravel years of support you fought hard to earn. The truth is, navigating the VA system isn't just about getting approved. It's about staying informed, staying alert, and staying protected. Every trigger we've discussed, from misunderstood changes in income to quiet red flags in your medical record, represents a risk that too many veterans aren't warned about until it's too late. That's why awareness matters. It gives you the power to prevent problems before they start. If anything from today's video raised a red flag in your own situation, don't wait. Double-check your paperwork. Follow up on old appointments. Ask questions, even if you think you already know the answer. Because your benefits are more than a monthly check. They represent years of sacrifice, and they deserve your full attention. We hope this video helped you spot something you didn't know before. If it did, drop a comment below and tell us which section stood out the most. We read every single one. And if you haven't subscribed yet, now's the time. We've got more Straight Talk content coming to help you protect what's yours. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.